lovely intro. It's probably a better intro than I'm about to do. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I sort of accidentally ended up on stage when James and the IAB asked for a punchy title for something we might do at IAB Engage. On my way out the door, chucked back to the marketing team the idea of, let's call it Digital Doesn't Have to Be Shit, and then walked out sort of chuckling to myself thinking, haha, they're never going to go for that. And then we got an email saying, yeah, we love the title, can you come on and talk about that? And then marketing got involved, and it became a whole thing, and we had to soften it a little bit to the more saccharine, let's make digital great again, that's equally kind of ill thought out in its Trumpian bombast, for a couple of reasons. One, because it sort of indicates that I, in some way, think that digital is shit, which I absolutely do not. I think there's an incredible amount of amazing, inspiring digital work going on all around the world every day, and we see it recognized in award shows throughout the year. It also sort of indicates that I, in some way, have some kind of solution to this, which, again, I don't, I'm afraid. What I do have is a few thoughts that I'd like to put in front of you today on a couple of industry, I think, mistruths that need to be dispelled if we're going to make the most of what I think is probably the most exciting digital creative opportunity to be around in quite a few years. I genuinely think we're kind of at the start of a new era of digital creative from an opportunity point of view, and this is great from a brand and marketing and advertising perspective. So the first mistruth I want to dispel is this one here. Attention is a diminishing commodity. I fundamentally do not agree with this statement. I don't think that people have the attention spans of goldfish. I think that's utter nonsense. Right? Netflix wouldn't exist as a thing if we had poor attention spans. Podcasts would not be popular if we had poor attention spans. The experience economy wouldn't be a thing if we had poor attention spans. People are just choosing to spend time paying attention in different ways and in different spaces. And that's changing at an ever more rapid rate, and that represents both a challenge and an opportunity for brands. I think this is summed up really well by Anselmo Ramos here in this tweet. So Anselmo is founding partner at Dave, and now founding partner at Gut. He's responsible for the Dove Beauty Sketches campaign and much of the award-winning work that Burger King and various others have been doing over the last couple of years. And Anselmo says here, don't compete with other brands, compete for attention. Your brand is competing with Black Hole Picture, Thanos, The Avengers, the Royal Baby, Trump tweets. Essentially, he's saying your brand needs to be more interesting than a black hole, more entertaining than the Avengers, bigger than Thanos. If you've seen the Avengers, he's pretty big. And more diverse, perhaps, than Trump tweets. And I think that is, again, a massive challenge for the brands that we work with, but also represents a huge opportunity. I think what we do know is that the window for attention, the screen for attention, is shifting. This is a scene that plays out around the world every day, wherever you are. Not me surreptitiously snapping people in queues, but people standing, looking, gazing through that window of attention into the screen of their mobile phone, their smartphone. And when you think about what they can be doing in that moment, they could be doing so many different things. They could be scrolling quickly through a feed. They could be listening to a podcast. They could be immersed in some interesting episode on Netflix. There's a load of different ways they can be choosing to pay attention. And we used to actually be really good at designing experiences people could choose to take part in on the screens that they were paying attention to. Some of you in the audience might remember this. This is a campaign from back in 2008. Orange created this idea. It's the Balloonacy campaign. The idea here was that people would sign up to fly branded digital hot air balloons across the internet. Right, just pause for a moment and think about what a wonderfully romantic idea that is. Imagine trying to pitch that idea now. We're going to create digital branded hot air balloons and fly them across the internet. It's a great idea. When they did that in 2008, 40,000 people agreed with them. They signed up and they flew 63 million internet miles. I'm guessing that's the same as a normal mile, an internet mile, across the internet, right, in 2008. When they did it again in 2010, 90,000 people signed up to do it. Also in 2010, we met this guy for the first time, Old Spice guy, right? In the first 24 hours of this campaign being live, people had watched the video 5.9 million times on YouTube, right? That's more views than Barack Obama's victory speech got when he took office. And by the second day, 10 of the videos were in the top 12 viewed on YouTube. And we still if we fast forward to today, we still love watching online video. This is just increased, right? There's nothing new, there's nothing kind of revolutionary in that as an insight. But 1/3 of every internet hour, every hour we spend online, we spend viewing video. And increasingly, short-form content is becoming the format, the preferred format for that from a consumption point of view and a creation point of view. And when we see it mapped out across the day, what we see is people start watching short-form content early in the morning, they go all the way through to the end of the day, but there's almost like a prime time moment when people are gathering around their phones in the late afternoon, the early evening, much like there is or was with TV. People would gather around to consume and watch short-form content, to choose to be entertained by what they're seeing on their phones. And this has started to lead to the emergence of more shop-for, created-for entertainment shows, content specifically for mobile phones. This is a show called Endless Summer on Snapchat. This is Mackenzie and Olivia, the stars from the show. And in the first season of Endless Summer on Snapchat in 2018, it got over 28 million unique viewers. And just to put that into context, that's more viewers than Game of Thrones got in its first season. There's now 21 original shows running on Snapchat, getting over 10 million views every single month. Jeffrey Katzenberg has just launched a company called Quibi, which some of you may have heard of, which promises to bring Hollywood-style entertainment onto the smartphone. Their sole mission is going to be to create Hollywood-style entertainment content for smartphone consumption. And I think that this represents an incredible creative opportunity when we start to think of the craft of creating video for mobile. And the first thing that we need to do when we start to think about that is entering the creation and consumption mindset of people as they use these types of platforms and consume this type of content and also create it themselves. If I was to snap Ed, our UK MD, who's down here somewhere, hi Ed, and say, hey Ed, this presentation is going fantastically well, let's go for a beer afterwards, and he was to open up Snapchat, watch that, listen to it, and reply in kind, Will, I think you're deluded, but yes, let's go for a beer anyway, that whole exchange takes no more than 5, 6, 7 seconds. There's nothing lost in the comprehension of it. There's nothing lost in the fact that Ed has opened that up, watched it, consumed it, understood it. And actually, I think that canvas is a great opportunity for us. I think if we start to look at the worlds of film and art and literature, 3 very high craft areas for inspiration, we can start to see what that means. Let me show you this. You only need to see that and hear it for just 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds to get the hairs on the back of your neck standing up as you start to recognize the Jaws sound. You only really need to look at that for about 1 second to kind of understand its meaning, right? You can stand in front of a Banksy and admire it for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, but you get it immediately. You only need to read this for a couple of seconds to understand the emotional power of the story from Hemingway. And I think what you're seeing here is all of the things, the facets of wonderful, fantastic brand advertising, power, impact, emotion, love, experience, stuff that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up on end. And I don't think that we should shy away from that as brand advertisers. You might say to me, well, Jaws is a big, scary shark. I've seen Jaws, he's terrifying. Banksy is a globally renowned prankster and graffiti artist. I know him very well. And Hemingway's Hemingway. They've all got brands around themselves. But so is Nike, so is Adidas, so is McDonald's, so is Pepsi, so is Coca-Cola. There's no reason why we can't take powerful, impactful imagery, beautifully shot content, powerful language, impactful copy, and deliver it in a couple of seconds in a way that makes people's hairs stand up on the back of their necks. So as we move through the opportunities on the mobile screen, we need to start to think about how craft can not just create relationships, but create experiences that people choose to step into. With the emergence of AR now, we have an incredibly powerful storytelling canvas that is scaled and something that people are taking part in every single day right now. This is not something that's going to happen next week, in a month, or in a year. People are using AR, experiencing AR in huge numbers every day at the moment. If we look at this research here, this was done last year, towards the end of 2018, MyShare Futures Lab, in the layered report that they created. What this represents is a group of people, 150 people that were split into two groups, 75 and 75, for those of you that struggle with numbers, and they were given a series of tasks to complete, the same set of tasks. So one group of people were given them to do in the normal, everyday way that they would, so go and purchase this item, find your way to this destination, translate this word, and the other group of people were given an augmented reality tool with which to complete the same set of tasks. Now, it should be no real surprise for me to say that the group up here in the low engagement section were the group of people that completed the tasks in the normal, everyday kind of autopilot way that they would do it. And the group on the other side were using the AR tool they were given with which to complete those tasks. And you could say, yes, well, they're on autopilot, well, it's the normal way they would do it. And that's kind of exactly the point. When you choose to add a layer of augmented reality to the experience that you're having in that moment, you're connected to both the real world in front of you and a creative layer. And that puts you in an incredibly high state of attention. Heather Andrew, from the CEO of NeuroInsight UK that did the research with Mindshare, says here, AR delivers exceptionally high attention levels, 45% higher than the average we see for TV viewing or general online browsing. And this leads us to an immediate question, which is, well, what can we do with augmented reality to add a layer of creative to some of the more traditional formats that we might see and experience or create as advertisers? This is a mural, and what I'm going to show you here is something that we call Marketech. I'm not sure how many of you have ever done this before, and I know I'm talking to a room full of marketers, advertisers, creatives, but have actually taken a picture of a billboard or a print ad and sent it to a friend or a couple of friends and said, you've got to check this out, this is just wicked, this is mind-blowing. I think that probably a few of you have done that and probably sent them to work colleagues, but it's not the norm for the general public to do. But what we can create with technology like this is experiences people will choose to not just spend time with and explore, but choose to share with their friends as well. So here we've got the user being invited to snap the code. They then move their camera and their phone over the augmented reality, and you can start to see how the creative literally leaves the page, right? It literally starts to move and animate, it pops. Some of you have probably heard that before or even said it a couple of times. Right, I'm going to try something a little bit risky now. From the looks of you, you're all definitely on Snapchat and use it every single day. So I'm going to invite anyone who is on the platform to take out their phone. I'm going to show you a code and ask you to scan the code. And then I'm going to attempt to attach a giant pair of wings to my back by standing in kind of the right place. If this doesn't work at all, I've got a fail-safe video instead. But here's the code. I'll just leave it up there for a couple of seconds while I take a sip of water. Thanks very much. Right, and here are the giant wings. Now you should, if you've scanned that code, be invited to move your camera across those wings, and they should animate behind me and flap and move. I can see a few of you are holding up your phones, so hopefully that's working. This has never been tested on the stage, so I'm going to add to the rule of never work with animals and children, never do live technical demonstrations. But this is what the wings look like if you weren't able to launch that. They start to pop and move and become something that I don't just experience myself, but that someone would maybe experience with me in that particular moment. As we start to think about the kind of creative philosophy around what do we do, how do we create augmented reality for experiences that are delivered at scale, we like to think about contribution over disruption. Contribution beats disruption. Often when I go to creative agencies and talk to them, this is a relatively controversial statement to make. Creatives don't like me saying I don't really believe in disruption as a positive experience and thing. But I think certainly from a mobile point of view, contribution is the positive path forward. If you think about the experience people are going through or the steps people take to launch augmented reality, they really want to be in that moment. They take their phone out, they put their headphones in, they open up the app, they scan their face or they scan the world around them. They really want to be in AR at that moment. They've taken 3 or 4 very considered steps to get there. The best thing that you can do as a marketer in that moment is to contribute to the experience that they are choosing to have, to take part in it, to play an authentic role, to make it the best AR experience they've ever had. And that represents a different kind of design challenge, right? We're very used to designing for rectangles. We're very used to being able to put what we want to in a screen, right? The information that we want people to take away, the thing that we want them to do, the way that we want them to feel. We control 100% of the pixels in that moment. And that's an incredibly powerful tool in itself. But with AR, what we do is we get to give over some of that control, and actually we only take control of about 20% of what people are seeing on the screen. But this in itself represents a new kind of creative equation. We're asking people to make this content their own. We're asking people to play with it, to spend time with it, to make it something that's relevant not just to themselves, but to the people that they would then want to share it with. And this means we're moving from a world where brands are interrupting what people are doing, interrupting what they're choosing to experience, and being able to play a very real and authentic role in contributing to the whole thing, just by giving over some of that control and inviting an element of play and exploration. I'll just show you an example from Amazon where I feel that all of these elements have been brought together to extend an Amazon Prime TV ad.
Amazon Prime Day starts July 16th. It's a day and a half of our best deals, from electronics to fashion to Amazon devices. Prime Day, July 16th to midnight, July 17th.
So the ad itself is about 15 seconds long, just under 15 seconds long. There's a beautiful kind of swooping camera that takes you into this beautiful papercraft world. You're introduced to some of the Amazon Prime characters. You get to see some of the products. There's a great track playing in the background. Really nice spot. And when we were asked to create a version of this or bring this into an augmented reality world, we decided to bring a couple of different elements together. First of all, we gave over some of the pixels to the user so they could play with it and play with the brand in a way that they might share with their friends or post to their stories. So we've got a typical kind of selfie experience with glasses, which work very well. But then when you flip the camera to the other side, you find that the Amazon box is right in front of you. As you walk towards it and you trigger the proximity trigger, it opens up, and you see the Amazon Prime world. As you take another step towards it, you find that you've actually stepped into the world, and you are now walking around what you just saw on TV. That beautiful papercraft world is now something that you can do whatever you like in. You can walk around behind the buildings. You can follow the trucks if you want. You can walk up to the people and tap on them and hear about Amazon Prime. You can actually go all the way through to go and make a purchase. This is a full funnel augmented reality branded experience that people will choose to spend time with. I think when we looked at this, one of the most fascinating things and interesting things that came out for me was that if you think about the ad, the TV ad as being just under 15 seconds long, people actually spent more time on average experiencing, exploring, and playing with the AR than they did or they could have done watching the TV spot, which from a soft metric point of view just makes it a beautifully kind of creative moment and crafted moment for people to be taking part in. So I just think I'll finish with just 3 points that I've kind of pulled out in here throughout this presentation. Under the theme of let's make digital great again, I do fundamentally believe like the creative canvas is shifting for digital and certainly for mobile. Full screen, sound on video, augmented reality that people will choose to launch and spend time with represents an incredible new creative canvas from an experience and storytelling point of view. If we think about the creation and consumption mindset of people as they are taking part of this, right? People are showing us what they want to do. Over 70% of the 190 million people on Snapchat are playing with AR for 3 minutes or more every single day, right? Craft creates relationships. The fundamentals of creative and strategy haven't necessarily shifted. We just need to step up to the challenge of embracing the opportunity of time spent and attention given for where people are shifting to. And then contribution over disruption as a creative philosophy for me on mobile is one that's incredibly important. If you disrupt people from the experiences that they're trying to take part in, that they're choosing to have on mobile, they can dismiss you with a swipe or a tap very easily. But if you make that experience as good as it can possibly be, if you make it wonderful, awe-inspiring, well-crafted, great creative, then people will choose to spend time with you. Those are my final 3 points on Let's Make Digital Great Again with 54 seconds to go. Thank you so much for your time.